Hey everyone, welcome to this YouTube channel. So in this tutorial, we are going to talk about how we can implement the push notifications in React Native mobile applications using the Expo. So we are going to do and cover all the steps together, step by step. So before I get started, I just want to let you know that before you even get started, you make sure that you have sign up on two different platforms. The fun is basically you need to have the account on Expo Dev. So once you go to the expo.dev, you will have an option to sign up, and then you also have to create your account on Firebase. So once you go to the Firebase after the account creation, you will basically land to this page. So all you need to do is basically just sign up on the both of these accounts, and then we will talk about how we can implement the push notifications together. So one more thing is basically I am going to create a brand new React project, but you can also implement the same functionality on your existing projects as well. Uh, just to get you assured is basically that I have also implemented the push notifications on my existing project before I basically once I have completed my project, I then use the push notifications in my existing project. Now the push notifications are working fine on that mobile application, so that is why I do not need to redo the whole process again on my existing application. So that is why I am preferring to use the brand new React Native application. So I will copy this command from here and I will install it in my directory, and I will also use the blank JavaScript template. So I will name it as React Expo push notifications, and then I will use the template to blank because I don't want to use any kind of pre-made template which comes with like the TypeScript. So I prefer to use the JavaScript. So once the installation is completed, I will get back to the video. All right, so now let's cd into the project directory and open it. I will open it in my Visual Studio Code. Now, once the application is being opened in my Visual Studio Code, so we need to, I will basically follow the push notifications official documentation. And by following the push notification official documentation, it's really simple and we can set up the whole process in under 30 minutes. So first step is basically we need to click on this first step, and here we need to install the libraries into our application. So let's copy this one, open up the terminal and just paste the command. Next step is basically we need to copy this whole thing into our app. So this says is basically app.tsx. So if you are using TypeScript, obviously you can do the copy the whole basically code into your app.tsx file. For me, it is basically app.jsx. So I am using basically the app.js. So I will replace everything here. So just wait for the basically libraries to install, and then I will paste everything here. After that, we also need to make sure, because this code is written in TypeScript, so we have types identification here as well, which is basically not supported in the plain JavaScript. So we need to make sure that we remove the TypeScripts. For example, this is basically accepting the string here, so we need to make sure that we also remove from the JS file of our code. So let's wait for the libraries to install and I will get back to the video. All right, so this installation has been completed. Now let's copy and paste the whole code here. And then I need to remove a certain things from here, starting from the string. Then we also basically this code is basically using the send push notification. So this will basically send the push notification back to our basically backend application. So in that case, I do not need that function because I do not want to send the notifications from within our application to any backend server. If you want to do that, it's really simple. All you need to do is basically you need to replace the URL here. Once you replace the URL, everything will be good to go on your backend as well. So I will also tell you how you can basically trigger the notifications from your backend to your mobile application. But for now, let's stick to the front end. So I will remove this function from here because I don't need it. Then let's also remove this part here. Basically all the type identifications we have to remove, and we also need to remove this button from here as well. Last is basically there is a use ref here, so we also need to remove this one. All right, so once done, we are now almost ready to go. Let me see if I am still missing, because there is a red dot showing here. Okay, everything seems to be working perfectly. So next step is basically if we scroll down, so it says like we need to configure the project ID. So how we can actually get the project ID? So if we take a look at our code, we have the project ID here. All right. So this is basically actually getting from EAS config file. But if you go to your, we do not have EAS file here right now. All right. We have the app.json file, but we do not know where we can get the project ID. So what we need to do is basically we need to run a command which is EAS build configure. Once we do that, sorry, make sure that you are not in the PowerShell. So you should be in the command prompt here. Once I run the command build configure, this will ask me for a couple of questions. First of all, you would have to say like, yes, I want to name it as it is. And then I want to do it from for Android. For iOS, there is a certain one more step involved, and that is basically you need to have the iOS developer paid account. I do not have that right now, so I will go with the Android. Clicking on Android, now you will see that we now have the EAS file here. If you click on that, so this contains all the configurations, and if you go to the app.json, you see that we now have the project ID here. So what I'm going to do is basically I will paste this project ID directly as a hard coded here, like so. Now the next step is basically get credentials for development builds. All right, for Android and iOS there are different requirements to set up your credentials. So what first step is basically for Android, we need to go to the Firebase messaging system. All right, so if we click on that, this will take us to the Expo docs here. Now this gives us all the information how we can set up our Firebase account. First, this will take to us on our Firebase console. So let's go to the Firebase console and create a new project. And I will name it as React Expo Push Notifications. And I will click continue. Next, we need to click on continue again. And then we can select any platform from here. I will choose this platform and I will go with that. So now wait for this to basically get our project ready in our Firebase account. Next, the thing is basically we need to go in the Firebase and click on service accounts for our project. So once we click on that, we will basically have to download the private key pair which we will basically use into our application. So let's wait for this. Okay, so this is ready now. Let's click on continue. Now we are inside. Make sure that you are inside the React Expo push notification project. Click on project settings. Now service accounts. Now once you are under the service account, you will see this option. So click on generate new private key pair and generate key. So once you will generate the key, this will automatically download the key onto your basically downloads folder. So let's cut this from here and paste it here. So actually we do not need to paste it here, but just for in case if I need to redo the process, so I for the safety of my file to not get deleted, I will paste it inside the root directory of the project. Now let's get back to the documentation. We have completed this part. Now we need to upload this file to our basically the Expo dev credentials section. Now if you take a look at here, export dev credentials, now this will ask you to choose the platform. All right, so we have created Expo, React Expo push notifications. Click on that and click on visit link. Now once we are on this section, we basically get started for our Android section. Okay, before we actually upload our keys to the Android, basically Android credentials, what we need to do is basically you need to run the following command first. So we need to basically create a build first. So once you will run this command is basically EAS build dash dash platform, and the platform is Android, and we need to choose the profile of preview. Once you do that, so this will ask you basically your identifier, application identifier. All right, so you just keep on hitting enter, and I would also like to create a new key store, yes, and then this will basically take our application to the build process. And once the build process is automatically completed by the EAS build, we will automatically have the identifier here. So we do not need to basically create the identifier by ourselves. We let EAS to create the unique identifier for our Android application. So let's wait for the build to complete, and I will get back to the video. All right, so now once our build once has been completed, now if we go back and click on credentials, now you see we now have this identifier here. So now click on that identifier, and down below we need to go to this FCM service account key. So which is basically if we take a look at here, so this says FCM v1 service account key. So this is one. Now click on add and select the file. So our file is basically in this project, and I will pick that, upload it, and once the key is uploaded, we will now move to the next steps. Okay, so now we have FCM v1 service account key ready. Now the next step is basically down below. Now we need to configure the Google Services JSON file in our project. So in order to do so, we need to go back to our application and click on General Settings. Make sure you have the right project open. And down below, we need to click on Android because we are doing this for Android. And then the package name. Now this package name is basically our same package name that is basically this one. So where we can get this from, we also can get this from app.json. We now have our package identifier here. Click on that, copy it and paste it here. Now I will give this a name as React Expo push notifications. Click on register app. Now the app is registered and we need to download this Google services.json file. Click on download. So this will automatically get downloaded. Then click on next, again next, and then continue to console. Now we also, next thing is basically once this is downloaded, we need to copy this from our downloads folder and paste it in our root directory, and make sure that if there is any naming convention, so make sure that you have the right naming convention, like so. Now let's get back to the documentation. Now you can skip the step if you have already JSON file, but this is basically a new project, so for that we also need a Google Services JSON file. Last step is basically we need to copy this line of code, go into the app.json, this one, and paste it under the Android section, like so, and make sure that you specify the correct path. So right now our app.json is in the root directory, and also we have the Google services.json in the root directory. Both exist on the same folder. Now you are all set. You can now send push notifications to Android devices via push notifications using FCM v1 protocol. All right, so that's it for this configuration. Now if we get back, the last step is basically we need to test the push notifications. So I will open it in a new tab. Now let's open the application, run the application on our Expo Go. So make sure that you also have the Expo Go application installed in your mobile device. So obviously you can get it from Google Play Store. You can type in Expo and you will have to install that first. Now I will come back to this terminal and I will start the application npm start. And now I am also going to open the Expo Go application on my mobile device as well. Okay, so I will scroll it onto my mobile application and we have the Expo Go app here. Now once you open the Expo Go application, all you need to do is basically you need to scan the QR code. So click on QR code and this will automatically scan your application. And you will see the application build. Basically now this is bundling, and once the bundling is completed you will see your application app.js page on your mobile device. So let's wait for the application to